Welcome, everyone. We're diving deep into something we all do but probably don't think too much about: sleep.
That's right. And we're going way beyond just, telling people to get 8 hours.
Yeah, we're really digging into the science of why sleep is so powerful.
Exactly. And we've got some amazing material to cover from cutting edge research to the evolutionary biology of sleep.
We'll be looking at how it impacts our health, our productivity, even our creativity.
Oh, it's fascinating stuff. And trust me, this is really just the tip of the iceberg.
Our mission today is to really equip you with the knowledge that goes beyond those, common sleep tips.
We're going to uncover the surprising and really impactful ways that sleep shapes our lives.
That was like a paradox, right? From
Yep.
an evolutionary perspective, you'd think sleeping would be a huge disadvantage.
Yeah, you're vulnerable to predators. You could miss out on food or socializing.
So why is this fundamental drive so deeply rooted in us?
Well, one of the earliest clues came from some fascinating research back in the 1930s by Nathaniel Kleitman and Bruce Richardson.
Okay, what do they do?
Well, they lived in Mammoth Cave for over a month.
Wait, a cave? Why would they do that?
It was an experiment to understand sleep without the influence of daylight. They lived in complete darkness.
Oh, wow. So what did they find?
They found that even without daylight, their sleep-wake cycles still followed a roughly 24-hour rhythm.
So even without the sun telling us when to sleep,
Mhm.
there's something built in that's driving this cycle.
Exactly. It's not just a passive response to the environment.
So we have this sort of internal clock.
Yes, we have an internal clock. It's called a circadian rhythm, and it's a much deeper biological drive.
So is that like an internal timer that's always running, pushing us towards sleep?
You could say that, and this internal clock is actually located in a specific part of our brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus.
Say that 10 times fast.
I know, right? But think of it like a master clock constantly ticking, keeping all of our bodily functions in sync.
Okay, that makes sense. So this master clock needs to know what time it is, right? How does it stay accurate?
Well, that's where light comes in. Light acts as a reset button. It tells our brain, hey, it's daytime, time to be awake.
So it's like a signal.
Yes, exactly. And that signal is called a Zeitgeber.
A Zeitgeber. I like that word.
It's a good one.
Okay, so if I'm understanding this correctly, sleep isn't just about resting our bodies. It's something much deeper in our brains and biology.
Precisely. And that understanding really opens up a whole new way of looking at sleep and its impact on our lives.
Speaking of how our brains work, let's talk about the different types of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
We all know about deep sleep and dreams, but what's actually going on?
Right. Well, for a long time, sleep was thought of as this, one uniform state.
Like we just fall asleep and that's it.
Pretty much. But thanks to researchers like Eugene Aserinsky and, well, you guessed it, Nathaniel Kleitman again, we now know it's much more complex.
Kleitman was busy. What did these guys discover?
They were studying infant sleep, and they noticed periods with and without rapid eye movements, and that led to the identification of two main types of sleep: NREM and REM sleep.
Ah, REM sleep, where all the crazy dreams happen. So we're not just sleeping, we're cycling through different states all night long.
That's right. NREM sleep is that deep restorative sleep. Your brain waves slow down, and it's really crucial for your body to repair tissues, build up its energy stores, and, just hit the reset button.
Okay, so what about REM sleep? That's where the action is, right? Our brains are active, we're having vivid dreams. Why do we need both? Wouldn't it be more efficient to just have one solid block of deep sleep and be done with it?
Think of it like a balanced diet. You need both proteins and carbohydrates for your body to function correctly.
So we need both NREM and REM.
Exactly. Just like you need those different nutrients, you need both types of sleep. Depriving yourself of either is going to lead to problems.
So it's not just about the quantity of sleep, but the quality.
Absolutely. That's such an important point. You need to make sure you're getting enough of both types.
That's really interesting. I think most people just focus on, how many hours they're getting.
Right. But the quality, the type of sleep you're getting is just as important.
This is fascinating, and it really leads us into this whole other area of how sleep impacts every aspect of our well-being.
It really does. We're talking way beyond just feeling rested. It's about how we learn, how we handle emotions, even our physical health.
It's all connected, isn't it? Okay, I'm ready to dive into that. We all know a bad night's sleep makes us grumpy, but how deep does this impact go? What are we actually doing to ourselves when we skimp on sleep?
Well, one of the most crucial roles of sleep, particularly that deep and REM sleep, is memory consolidation.
Oh, so like all those late night study sessions are basically pointless if you don't sleep afterwards.
Pretty much. It's like trying to build a house without letting the cement dry.
I like that analogy.
During deep sleep, our brains are actually replaying what we learned, strengthening those connections.
So our brains are working even when we're asleep.
Exactly. There are even these bursts of brain activity called sleep spindles that are directly linked to this memory strengthening process.
Wow, so it's like your brain is a tiny librarian, carefully organizing and shelving all the new information from the day.
That's a great way to put it. And this applies to all sorts of learning, from facts and figures to physical skills.
So it's not just about memorizing facts for a test.
Not at all. There's actually a great anecdote in Matthew Walker's book about a pianist who was struggling with a new piece late into the night.
Oh, yeah, I think I remember that one.
After a good night's sleep, he could play it flawlessly the next morning.
His brain was practicing while he slept. That's incredible.
It is, isn't it? It really shows you the power of sleep, but it's not just about memory, right?
Right. What about our emotions?
Sleep plays a huge role there, too, particularly REM sleep. It helps us process our emotions.
Oh, really? In what way?
Well, it helps strip away that negative intensity of our experiences, making us less reactive.
So it's like REM sleep is our emotional reset button.
Exactly. It helps us calm down, approach things with a clearer head the next day.
That makes a lot of sense. I know I definitely feel more on edge after a bad night's sleep.
Well, studies have shown that sleep-deprived people are way more sensitive to negative stimuli. They even misinterpret neutral faces as threatening.
Wow, so it's like sleep deprivation really throws off our emotional compass. Makes us see the world in a more negative light.
You could say that. And it's not just in our heads, so to speak. Sleep deprivation has a very real impact on our physical health.
Okay, let's talk about the hard facts.
Mm.
What happens to our bodies when we consistently don't get enough sleep?
Well, unfortunately, it's not a pretty picture. Studies show that chronic sleep loss significantly increases your risk of serious health problems.
Like what?
Heart attack, stroke, other cardiovascular issues.
Wow, you might think pulling an all-nighter just makes you tired.
Mm.
But it could actually be increasing your risk of serious problems down the line.
Exactly, and it doesn't stop there. Sleep deprivation also disrupts your blood sugar control, even in healthy individuals.
Really? So even if you're eating right and exercising, not getting enough sleep can sabotage your efforts.
It absolutely can. Our bodies need that time to repair and recharge.
It's like we're running on fumes.
Exactly. And sleep deprivation weakens your immune system, making you more susceptible to getting sick.
So we're more likely to get a cold if we're not sleeping enough.
Yep. There's even evidence that sleep loss can disrupt hormone levels, including testosterone in men.
Oh, wow, I've heard about that. What's the impact of that?
Well, it's the equivalent of aging 10 to 15 years.
That's a lot to take in. It's like every system in our body takes a hit when we don't prioritize sleep.
It really highlights how interconnected our physical and mental well-being is. Sleep is truly the foundation.
I think we've definitely established that getting enough sleep is crucial for us as individuals.
Yeah.
But what about the bigger picture?
What do you mean?
Well, what happens when this becomes a widespread problem? What about the impact on society as a whole? Let's zoom out and look at that.
That's a crucial point. We live in a world that often glorifies busyness and productivity at the expense of rest.
Yeah, it's like the hustle culture is always telling us to do more, sleep less.
Exactly. And the consequences of that are far-reaching.
Okay, so let's dive into that. Where do we see the most significant impact of sleep deprivation on a societal level?
Well, one of the most obvious is the workplace studies show that sleep deprivation leads to reduced productivity, more errors, and a higher risk of accidents. It's really a huge problem.
Yeah, and I imagine the economic costs to companies must be staggering.
They are absolutely staggering. And you know what? Some companies are starting to get the message.
Really? Like who?
Companies like Google and Nike, they're actually implementing sleep-friendly policies.
That's great. What are they doing?
Well, they're offering things like nap pods, flexible work schedules, even education about sleep hygiene,
So they're realizing that well-rested employees are good for business.
Exactly. It's a win-win situation, but what about education? We talked about this earlier. How is sleep deprivation impacting our schools?
It seems like the biggest issue is the timing of those school start times, especially for teenagers.
It is. Teenagers have this natural shift in their circadian rhythm. They're biologically predisposed to stay up later and sleep in later.
So forcing them to wake up early for school is like torture.
It really is. It's like asking them to function on fumes, and it's especially detrimental during those crucial teenage years.
And when their brains are still developing.
Exactly. And remember the critical role that sleep plays in memory consolidation and emotional regulation.
Right, we talked about that earlier. Those are essential for academic success and just navigating the challenges of adolescence in general.
Absolutely. And, it seems counterproductive to expect teenagers to perform at their best when their own biology is working against them.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
But this problem extends beyond schools and workplaces, doesn't it? What about healthcare?
This is a really alarming area because the stakes are so high. Studies have shown that sleep-deprived medical residents make significantly more errors.
Oh, wow. And those errors can have devastating consequences for patients.
They absolutely can. We're talking about patient safety. It's really a serious issue.
It's terrifying to think that someone's health, even their life, could be at risk because of a sleep-deprived doctor.
It's a scary thought. But thankfully, there's growing awareness of this issue. Some hospitals are implementing policies to address resident sleep deprivation.
Well, that's good to hear, but it sounds like we still have a long way to go.
We do, from workplaces to schools to hospitals. It seems like sleep deprivation is this ticking time bomb for society.
So what can we do about it? We can't just, throw our hands up in despair.
You're right, we can't. The first step is awareness. The more people understand the science of sleep and the impact it has on our lives, the more likely we are to see meaningful change.
It's like a ripple effect, right? Knowledge leads to awareness, which leads to action.
Exactly. But what about on a personal level? What can individuals do to prioritize sleep in a world that's constantly demanding our time and attention?
That's a great question.
It starts with recognizing that sleep is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's as fundamental to our survival as eating, drinking, and breathing.
I love that sleep is a necessity, not a luxury.
Exactly. And in his book, Why We Sleep, Matthew Walker outlines 12 tips for healthy sleep.
Yeah, I've heard about those. They cover everything from creating a relaxing bedtime routine to optimizing your sleep environment.
They do, and don't underestimate the power of those small changes.
Right.
Even just starting with a regular sleep schedule,
Even on weekends.
especially on weekends, and create a relaxing pre-sleep routine, something that signals to your body that it's time to wind down.
Like dimming the lights, taking a warm bath, reading a book.
Exactly. All those things can really help, but, sometimes even with our best efforts, we struggle with sleep.
What do you do then?
Don't hesitate to reach out to a sleep specialist. They can help identify any underlying issues and recommend appropriate treatments.
So it's important to remember that good sleep is an investment.
It is an investment in your health, your happiness, your overall well-being.
It's about being our best selves.
Well said. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the fascinating world of sleep science.
This has been an incredible journey.
Yeah.
We've learned so much about the science behind sleep, the impact it has on every aspect of our lives, and it's clear that sleep is not a luxury.
It's a necessity.
So let's all make a commitment to prioritize sleep for ourselves, for our loved ones, for the well-being of society as a whole.
Sleep well, everyone.
Sweet dreams.
God.